This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by Leo Inc., Daolis Brothers Construction, and King Movers and Storage.
Good morning, everyone. Some of you are already aware, but this will be my final newscast with LCTV. This moment is bittersweet, but we did all we could to end on a strong, positive note. There were announcements galore coming out of City Hall and several nonprofits. A double lowdown covers the important topics of immigration and innovation to help those with disabilities. With that, let's jump right in with the news for Friday, January 16th, 2026. Cummings Properties kicked off 2026 by donating $520,000 to nonprofits across Massachusetts through its annual Cummings Community Giving Initiative. Of this amount, $51,000 is going to the North Shore communities of Lynn, Swampscott, Marblehead, Nahant, Peabody, and Saugus. Nonprofits in Lynn will receive $11,000, with $6,000 going to My Brother's Table. Their executive director, Diane Cousy-Hills, said she believes Cummings Community Giving is, quote, a lovely way for a business to allocate donations by letting their employees pick charities that they're familiar with and think highly of and that they can nominate. I know there have been a couple of employees over the years who have nominated us to receive a donation from Cummings Properties, and we're always super grateful for those folks, end quote. The remaining money was awarded to 5 additional Lynn organizations. Beth Israel Lahey Health received $2,000. Centerboard Inc. also received $2,000. Pathways Inc. also $2,000. The Robert L. Ford Elementary received $2,000, and Beyond Walls received $1,000. At the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission meeting on Monday night, Councillor Richard Colucci proposed appointing a new chair and vice chair of the commission. The commission had already taken a vote in December to reappoint Michael Salona as chair, but Colucci made a motion to rescind the vote, which was immediately seconded by Councillor Vincent Lozzi. Salona questioned the motion, asking what the people's reason was to rescind, to which Councillor Peter Meany, in his first meeting as a city councillor, simply replied, new membership. A 3-1 majority then voted to appoint Meany as the new chair, with Lozzi Jr. as vice chair. Commissioner Robin Grace was absent from the meeting, and Councillor Coco Allensug had already departed, raising more questions about the reasoning and process behind the vote. The proposal to reconsider the commission's leadership was also not on the agenda and was only proposed after all other scheduled business had been completed. After much public outcry regarding the outcome of the vote, Councillor Meany resigned as chairman and member of the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission on January 14th. Last fall, our co-op students completed a documentary highlighting the history of High Rock Tower, and now is your chance to see it once again.
Standing tall since the late 1800s, High Rock Tower has witnessed Lynn's ever-changing story. Originally a site for spiritual gatherings and fire watching, it came to symbolize hope, discovery, and community. Through wars and modernization, it stood strong. Recent restoration efforts have brought new life to the tower, turning it into a space where history meets the present, hosting events, lighting the sky, and reconnecting Lynn with its roots.
My knowledge really starts In like the 1800s. I would say the big notable one is in the 1850s. It was a huge hive for spiritualism. So people were trying to communicate with the dead, try to do ghost stuff like that. Most people know High Rock because of that. However, the Hutchinson family singers also owned High Rock for a little bit, and that's like their big claim to fame. If you go back, the Hutchinson family that I just mentioned, they are really, really involved in women's rights and abolition, and also in the teetotaling movement. That is a huge, huge part of this like area's history, but specifically High Rock Tower. That's kind of like the hive of it, right? It's a nice community center. It's owned by the city of Lynn. They do a bunch of programs. A lot of them are at night. It has an observatory, which there aren't really too many of here. There's like 3 or 4 in the area, but in Lynn, that's the closest one. So they do a lot of astronomy things during the summer. They do concerts. It's just like a nice community area. The Hutchinson family singers, there's 16 of them. 4 of them form a family quartet. The big ones are John, Judson, Asa, and Jesse. Jesse's the one that's really involved in the spiritualist movement. He's also really involved in abolition. I think their biggest claim to fame is in 1863. They made a campaign song for this little-known politician named Abraham Lincoln. The song was called Lincoln and Liberty Too, and it was huge. They also worked with a lot of other people around the area that are very involved in that scene. The big one is like William Lloyd Garrison, John Greenleaf Whittier, a local poet. They're friends with Frederick Douglass, who lived in Lynn for a short period of time. Big song, other than Lincoln and Liberty Too, is Get Off the Tracks. It's a very standard abolition song for that period.
Oh, the car emancipation rides majestic through our nation, bearing on its train the story, liberty, a nation's glory. Rolling along, rolling along, rolling along through the nation, freedom's car emancipation.
When you see High Rock Tower today, you're seeing not the first tower. The first tower that was built way back in like the 1840s for Jesse Hutchinson, a local man named Alonzo Lewis, who's known as the Bard of Lynn, constructed that first tower, which actually burnt down while they were celebrating the end of the Civil War in 1865. Entire place gone, burnt to ashes. The one that you see now with the observatory was built in 1907. It was designed by the sons of Frederick Law Olmsted. John Charles and Frederick Law Olmsted Jr. built the tower that you see there today. There's a lot of folk tales. In the 1850s, there was a huge spiritualist convention. People from Boston came all the way over to High Rock Tower and then made their way to Dungeon Rock. It was over a procession of over 3,000 people. Very, very interesting. One of the people that led it was a gentleman named H.F. Gardner, who actually brought over the first planchette, which is part of a Ouija board, he brought over a bunch of people from High Rock Tower over to Dungeon Rock and then back to High Rock. So suffice it to say that High Rock Tower is huge into like the local community, and always has been, and probably always will be.
High Rock's cottage wasn't always abandoned. We had the chance to speak with someone who once lived there, a reminder that behind the stone and silence, this place held real-life memories and stories that still linger today.
As a kid, right up to the playground, they had rides. There was a swimming pool, but that wasn't for long. They took that away a long time ago. But there was rides and seesaws and we get the groups together up there. Oh, this talks about the stone cottage because everybody thought it was haunted, and when as your kids, you think you were afraid to go by it and stuff like that. But the haunted house, we used to call it, and afraid to go in it and go by it or anything.
High Rock Tower began in the 1800s as a gathering place for spiritualists, drawn to its high-end sense of wonder. Over time, it became a symbol of community and discovery. Today, it's no longer a space for spiritual rituals, but for stargazing, thanks to local efforts like Josh Judkins, who continues to connect Lynn to the universe above.
As soon as I moved in, I went over to Jamie Marsh in City Hall, and he agreed to let me work with him to volunteer and open up the observatory on a monthly basis. High Rock Tower is an interesting location because it is perched high above the city. It means that we can look at a lot of stuff. Number two, because it's on a reservation, there's actually not a whole lot of lights immediately around, and also being in Lynn, on one side of us we have the ocean, and there's no lights out there on the ocean. It's evolved quite a bit, I would say. The current observatory dome was kind of in the telescope was installed in the early 2000s, so like late 1990s, early 2000s. There was a grant to refurbish the tower and the observatory itself. The telescope itself is it's a Schmidt-Cassegrain style telescope, so that would be in the class of telescopes known as reflectors. There's really a whole lot that we can see, so we can have really nice views of the planets. You know, I think to reiterate, High Rock Tower is a really special gift that the city has. It's rare that a city has their own observatory. If you live in Lynn, it's there for you to see and experience, so definitely take advantage and enjoy a tower that is your right and privilege as a citizen of Lynn to utilize.
High Rock Tower has always been more than stone and sky. In the 1800s, it was a gathering place for spiritualists and visionaries like the Hutchinson's family, who filled the hill with music, activism, and hope. The nearby cottage wasn't always abandoned. We even spoke with someone who once called it home, a reminder of the lives woven into this place. Though the spiritual gatherings have faded, the spirit of wonder remains. Today, thanks to people like Josh, the tower connects Lynn to the stars once again. And thanks to Chris, its rich history is kept alive, reminding us of where we have come from. High Rock is a powerful landmark, and we are truly blessed to have something so meaningful right here in our city.
The Food Project is currently seeking high school students to apply to their Summer Seed Crew Youth Program. This 6.5-week paid experience brings together youth leaders from across the North Shore. Youth will grow and distribute healthy foods, learn about the complexities of the food system, and learn about social injustices and leadership skills. Seed Crew members will work approximately 28 to 32 hours per week and will earn $15.50 per hour. Applicants must be between the ages of 14 to 17, be available to work every day of the 6-week Seed Crew, be invited for and complete an interview, and include a letter of recommendation with their application. Applications are due by Friday, April 10th, with Seed Crew beginning on June 6th. On January 9th, Essex Heritage announced the start of their 28th annual partnership grant cycle for 2026. They are offering 12 grants for local organizations in amounts of $2,000. Grants are reimbursed upon the completion of the project and require at least a $4,000 total project cost. Applications can be submitted anytime between now and Monday, February 16th. All nonprofit organizations located in Essex County or affiliated with one of the 34 communities are eligible to apply. Grants are available in 4 categories: education, furthering educational opportunities for youth; interpretation, increasing awareness of the regional cultural heritage; preservation, preserving historic structures and landmarks; and accessibility, providing equitable experiences for residents or visitors of the Essex National Heritage Area. Lynn City Hall provides services in a variety of languages, and they even made a PSA to inform the public about how to access these services. Take a look.
¿Necesitas ayuda para conectarte con un departamento del ayuntamiento? ¿Sabías que puedes obtener información sobre lo que Lynn tiene para ti a través de WhatsApp? Bienvenidos a Datos Rápidos o Fast Facts. Les habla Berta Tavares, coordinadora del acceso al idioma del ayuntamiento, y estoy aquí para hablarles sobre los servicios que ofrecemos y el nuevo canal informativo de WhatsApp en español. En el ayuntamiento de Lynn tenemos a alguien que te puede ayudar en tu idioma. Tenemos servicios de interpretación para que te puedas comunicar, entender y resolver tus diligencias en cualquier departamento al que te dirijas. También escuchamos tus inquietudes, te conectamos con organizaciones locales que ofrecen servicios sociales tales como salud, vivienda, alimentación, asistencia jurídica, clases de inglés, trabajos y mucho más. ¿Quieres enterarte de lo que Lynn tiene para ofrecer? El ayuntamiento acaba de lanzar el canal oficial de WhatsApp en español, en el que compartimos avisos importantes como eventos para toda la familia, avisos oficiales de la ciudad, oportunidades de empleo, clases de inglés, programas de ayuda y mucho más. Únete y no te lo pierdas. Para más información, me puedes llamar al 781-815-0693 o escribir al correo electrónico berta.tavares@linma.gov o escanear el código QR que ves en pantalla.
When the government shutdown threatened SNAP benefits, there were many in the community who stepped up. One such person was Peter Mikatis, who reached out to the Phoenix Food Hub to ask how he and his family-owned business, Ready Packs and Fresh Packs Food Service Company, could help. The Mikatis family went on to donate 100 shelf-stable meal kits, each containing 5 days' worth of meals. They also delivered 100 ready-to-eat meals weekly. Combined, it equaled a $20,000 food donation at a time when many families were struggling. Each meal kit included 5 breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, along with hot and cold beverages and snacks. As stated by Mikatis, the uncertainty created by a lengthy government shutdown and the time of year prompted him and his family to get involved. This is just the latest example of the philanthropic work Mikatis has been doing for the past 20 years. He and his family host a Christmas party every year and make monthly meal donations to several other organizations. Due to a recent increase in immigration enforcement activity in Massachusetts, the Attorney General's office has been receiving many questions regarding the actions of ICE agents and the rights people have when interacting with them. Therefore, the AG's office has released a guide for immigrants, communities, and families to answer some of the most commonly asked questions. ICE enforcement activity is meant to focus on those who are subject to removal from the country. This includes those who have overstayed visas, people who have had their legal authorization revoked, those who have violated federal immigration law, or others. However, ICE does not have the authority to enter private spaces, such as homes or private offices, without a judicial warrant signed by a federal judge. Those who are arrested by ICE have rights under the U.S. Constitution, such as the right to remain silent, the right to hire an attorney, and the right to refuse to sign documents. Arrestees are also allowed to ask why they are being arrested, do they have a warrant, the names and badge numbers of the arresting officers, and where they are being taken. Bystanders are also allowed to record the actions of ICE agents and assist the person being targeted by asking any of the above questions. For the full guidelines, as well as a list of resources and legal assistance, visit lyntv.org. Keeping on this theme, members from Project Citizenship were our guests on the Lowdown. Their organization works to help immigrants navigate the process of becoming a citizen, including free workshops and legal help. Here is more of what they had to say. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we welcome on two members from Project Citizenship based in Boston. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Great. So first things first, would you both just mind briefly introducing yourselves and then just the overview of goal of Project Citizenship?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone, my name is Juliette Vemmer. I'm a Commonwealth Core Service member at Project Citizenship, and Project Citizenship is a nonprofit based in Boston that provides free, comprehensive citizenship services to eligible green card holders in New England. The mission of our organization is to really help increase the naturalization rate in New England and empower our clients to feel safe and welcome in applying for citizenship and make it as easy as possible for them to surpass some of the barriers.
Nice.
All right, and hi, my name is Nick. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Project Citizenship. And para explicarlo en español, buscamos como organización aumentar la tasa de naturalización en New England con un enfoque en las poblaciones más vulnerables. Entonces, lo hacemos ofreciendo servicios legales 100% gratuitos y de alta calidad. Hablamos inglés, español, italiano, francés y más. Y 95% de las solicitudes que mandamos a inmigración son aprobadas. Entonces, no importa si tiene una historia criminal complicado o un pasado de inmigración complicado, le podemos ayudar.
And for anyone who isn't familiar with the process, I myself am not, what is the process of becoming a citizenship? What does that process look like, sort of start to finish?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So before I go into the timeline, let me just say that there are a couple requirements to become a citizen.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to be at least 18 years old. Okay. Second of all, you have to have your green card, so you have to be a permanent resident for 5 years or 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen. Mm-hmm. The third requirement is for half of that time, so half of the 5 years or 3 years, you have to be physically residing in the United States. Okay. The fourth requirement is that you have to be of good moral character, and this is kind of difficult to describe, but it's basically based on some questions you answer at the end of the citizenship application. Another requirement is that you have to pass the U.S. history and civics exam, and the last requirement is you have to be able to speak, read, and write in English. You have to pass the English exam. And the timeline, so for Project Citizenship, we screen our clients, yep. And then we go them through the workshop process, which I think we'll go into a bit later, and then we'll continue and we'll submit their application. After one submits their application, then they'll have to wait about 8 to 14 months before they're scheduled for an interview. Oh. After they pass the interview, then they'll have their oath ceremony and they'll be a citizen of the United States. So that's a bit of about the timeline, what it means to be a citizen and how long it takes.
Bueno, para convertirse en ciudadano estadounidense debe tener al menos 18 años, debe ser residente permanente por al menos 5 años o 3 años si está casado a un ciudadano estadounidense. También debe mantener la residencia en los Estados Unidos por al menos la mitad de ese tiempo. También debe ser de buen carácter moral. Tener conocimiento de la historia y el civismo de los Estados Unidos y también hablar, leer y escribir en inglés, pero sí existen exenciones a este requisito de que podemos explicar más un poquito más tarde. Y también nosotros como organizaciones le podemos ayudar desde el primer paso hasta el final. Entonces, si quiere aplicarnos con nosotros, el primer paso sería para contactarnos para que podamos verificar su elegibilidad, ver si califica para una exención de tarifa o idioma y también programarle para una cita de llenar su solicitud con nosotros. Y típicamente el proceso se puede durar 1 año hasta 1 año y medio.
Yeah, so you said about year and a half, mm-hmm. give or take. And I know one thing you were mentioning before we got on here is one thing that can be great for your clients is there's quite a bit of pro bono legal assistance so they can mm-hmm. work with a lawyer because that can be a very intimidating process, especially if you maybe don't understand certain elements mm-hmm. or certain terms to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. We have like 3 attorneys on staff, and we have multiple DOJ accredited representatives, and having those lawyers on our team really helps the clients kind of through the process, which is really great, especially since it's 14 pages long. It can be a really complicated process, and to have that legal aid, to have somebody taking a look at your application, that's huge, and that's great for a lot of our clients.
Yeah.
Sí, tenemos nuestro equipo legal de abogados en nuestra oficina y ellos son las que revisan las solicitudes, revisan los casos de nuestros clientes, pero somos una organización más pequeña, entonces trabajamos con las firmas de abogados en Boston para que tenemos abogados voluntarios durante nuestros talleres de ciudadanía y eso nos permite ayudar a más personas, a más clientes.
And I know one thing that was interesting, another thing you mentioned too, was that I was curious, given the current climate now, I wasn't sure if your demand would increase, if more people would want to try to become citizens, or if more people would be more nervous and back off the process. You've both been there, you said, for about 6 months or so, you said you've been working for the organization, but what have you seen so far in that time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's definitely been, some nervousness. I mean, you're filling out this long application, and with the changes that are coming from the current administration, it can seem, scary and daunting. And I think because of that, there's definitely nervousness. But I think the demand is still there. I think a lot of people and our clients are really eager to fill out the application. And with our process and with a lot of our staff, like coming from a variety of backgrounds, I know Nick mentioned this, but speak Haitian Creole, Spanish, French, Italian, Mandarin, and having the long years of experience, like we try to maintain a feeling, like a balance of safety and feeling really great about the applications that are submitting, as well as like submitting the best application as possible and really empowering our clients to feel good about their application.
Because you have a high acceptance rate as well for people who go through your services.
Yeah, the acceptance rate is 95% of success.
That is an impressive number.
Sabemos que la administración ha hecho unos cambios al proceso de la ciudadanía. Esto incluye una extensión a la prueba de civismo y también más escrutinio al buen carácter moral del aplicante, pero no hemos tenido ningunos incidentes con ICE ni con inmigración durante nuestros eventos y también Proyecto Ciudadanía se compromete a mantener seguros a los clientes y al mismo tiempo capacitarlos para hacer lo que está dentro de su derecho a hacer, básicamente.
And along these lines as well, the help that you provide and offer, there's also several workshops that you do as well, where people can you encourage them to make appointments, but people can walk in if they need to, and you'll have several coming up in January and beyond as well at a variety of locations where people can learn more about this process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's completely correct. So the workshops are really a big part of our services, and I'll go a bit over that. I think the first step, as I briefly mentioned before, is we screen clients for their citizenship eligibility, and if everything looks good to go, then we schedule them for one of our workshops. Our workshops happen at some of our community partners. So for example, we have a workshop coming up in Quincy in February and Worcester in March, and then we have several scattered around Boston in January, leading up to then in May, we have our big citizenship day where tons of people come in and apply for citizenship. It's really awesome. And at these workshops, what kind of happens is a client will come in to check in with our staff, and then they'll take into application assistance where our volunteers will sit with them and really take the time to fill out the application. Then they'll meet during quality control with our pro bono attorneys, where they'll have the chance to talk with an attorney about their application and go through it. And then finally, they can ask our staff any questions they have about the application, and we'll go through it with them. And then we'll submit, eventually after review, we'll submit their application and we'll help them throughout the process until their oath ceremony.
Wow.
Sí, bueno, si quiere aplicarnos con nosotros, primero obviamente necesita contactarnos para que podamos verificar su elegibilidad y conseguir toda la información que necesitamos, pero después estará listo para programarle para una cita con nosotros. Tenemos eventos cada mes, 2 o 3 cada mes, se llaman talleres de ciudadanía, y durante esta cita llenará su solicitud con la ayuda de nuestros abogados voluntarios. También estará con un miembro de nuestro personal para verificar la información de su solicitud y también para hablar de los siguientes pasos. Entonces, el proceso se puede durar como 2 horas, pero durante esta cita vas a llenar su solicitud, vas a consultar con un abogado voluntario y también va a hablar con un miembro de nuestro personal.
And there also seems to be, even based on what you said, quite a bit of, one-on-one consultation help, because you might think there's so many people. I know someone might be curious, is it in a larger group? But no, you really make sure everyone gets the specific help they need and the language they need and whatever specific questions they may have in this, like you said, very lengthy process.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, we meet with clients every day. I think it's what we all love about our jobs. We get to talk to people, we get to hear their stories, and ultimately we get to make them feel better about submitting the application and really empower them to feel great about the citizenship process, and we do our best with that.
Sí, se puede ser un proceso muy complicado y muy difícil, entonces nosotros como organizaciones siempre estamos trabajando para hacer el proceso tan fácil y seguro y rápido como podemos. Entonces, sí, somos una organización más pequeña, pero trabajamos duro para hacer todo lo que podemos hacer para nuestros clientes.
And you actually led almost perfectly into my next question, which is you were saying you love how you get to meet with clients, was the question of how did you both first become involved in it and some of the elements that really have either been the most impactful to you or that you've enjoyed the most?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I said before, I'm a Commonwealth Core Service member at Project Citizenship, which means I'm spending a service year at Project Citizenship, which kind of started with me wanting to be part of Commonwealth Core, which is a Massachusetts Service Alliance initiative where I serve for a year at a host site, and I became really interested in this because I truly love working with people. I think the best way to make change and provide social services is really be face-to-face with people and hear about their needs and react to them in a way that's productive. And I think Project Citizenship just does a wonderful job of meeting with clients, knowing their needs, responding to them. And I think being able to serve clients every day, but also being able to learn from and work directly with community organizations that are eager to support immigrants and eager to support populations throughout Massachusetts, that's just amazing, and I love to do that.
100%.
He estado trabajando por Proyecto Ciudadanía por casi 7 meses y me gusta el trabajo porque me gusta hablar con nuestros clientes, me gusta aprender de sus historias y todo como viendo el proceso desde el inicio hasta la terminación del proceso siempre me hace feliz para ver como el excitement de nuestros clientes. Me gusta hacer eso.
And I said, I know I have to wrap up in a moment. Like I said, it always feels like it goes by so quickly, but were there any other points, whether they were upcoming workshops, dates, anything else that you wanted to make sure people were aware about Project Citizenship?
Yeah, I think it would be really great to flag that on January 27th, we're having an upcoming workshop in Boston, and coming up in February, we have a workshop on the 4th and the 10th also in Boston. And I think that it would be really great if they should reach out to us, they should call us, they should fill out the screening form. They should definitely follow up with us so we can get them screened, ask them questions, and get scheduled for these workshops, because it's a really great opportunity to help as many people as we can with the citizenship process.
Awesome.
Si hacemos nuestros eventos, nuestros talleres de ciudadanía en Boston y también en el este de Massachusetts, entonces tenemos 2 o 3 talleres al mes, siempre en el centro de Boston, pero también en el febrero estaremos en Quincy y en el marzo estaremos en Worcester. Entonces estaremos en todo el este de Massachusetts, no importa dónde vive, puede venir a nuestros talleres de ciudadanía.
Said you definitely have a lot of opportunities for people to come in, a lot of upcoming events. The work you do is amazing, and I want to thank you both so much for coming on to speak about it. Nick, thank you for the translation as well. I really appreciate it. And again, I really look forward to seeing the work that you both and the entire organization continue to do with the community.
Of course, thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This has been great.
Of course, I'm always glad to hear it. And once again, I'm Danny Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown. Thank you so much for watching. Lynn Tech boys basketball doubled up on Whittier Tech, plus a little extra, 96-40, but behind a 30-point performance from Andy Batista, who also added 5 assists and 5 rebounds. Ulysses Diaz and Julian Vallo added 10 points apiece. But both English and Classical met their matches on the 13th. The Bulldogs fell to Chelsea 66-55 in enemy territory, while the Rams dropped a tight 55-51 final to Greater Boston League foe Somerville. Then in a battle of top-rated teams, it was St. Mary's who stayed perfect, defeating Masco 75-61 for their 9th consecutive win of the year. Masco scored first, but the Spartans then went on an 11-0 run in the first. The Chieftains made it a game, as St. Mary's was only up by 1, 36-35 at the half. The third was all Roque Brez Aries, who scored 11 of his 19 points, and the Spartans ran with that momentum to build a 57-49 advantage in the fourth and maintain control for the remainder of the game. The Spartans played a very balanced offensive game, with 4 players scoring in the double digits, led by Aries with 19. While their girls team upped their record to 9-1 behind a 58-26 final over Algonquin. Sissy Emanuel topped the Spartans with 17 points, followed closely by McKenna O'Connell with 15. While Lynn Tech girls bounced back from their 2-loss week to win 3 in a row this past week. The visiting Tigers dominated Rockport 46-29 on the 14th. Allison Morales had the hot hand, netting 33 points to go with 5 rebounds and 8 steals. The girl Rams and Bulldogs put up a fight, but both came up short. Classical fell 44-36 to Somerville on the 13th, while English had no answers in a 62-26 final with Georgetown. In girls hockey, it was freshman Kaylee Dinkle coming up clutch for the Spartans. Dinkle scored with 6 seconds remaining in regulation to tie the score at 2-all. In overtime, it was Dinkle again, as Alyssa Norden tipped in her shot for the 3-2 win over Malden Catholic. And the Lynn Jets hit the 500 mark with a commanding 8-0 win over East Boston. Abel Crossley and Dylan O'Connell scored their first varsity goals in the victory. The New England Patriots are advancing to the divisional round of the playoffs and will be facing the Houston Texans. It was a defensive battle in a 16-3 victory over the LA Chargers in the wild card round. Neither team could get much going offensively, as New England only had a 6-3 lead going into the half. In the second half, it was the defense stepping up and registering 6 total sacks on Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, including on 4th down to end the game. Second-year quarterback Drake May won his first career playoff game, registering 268 yards in the air, a TD throw to Hunter Henry, and another 66 yards with his legs. There are many people in Lynn doing incredible things. One such person is a woman, Catherine Katambo, who is in the process of designing a smartwatch for autistic children. Her son is autistic and nonverbal, which is where she got the idea of designing a watch that allows kids to communicate, as well as allowing parents to keep them safe. Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we have on the founder and CEO for Voca Safe Watch, which is a very interesting startup company here in the city of Lynn. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you for having me. It's really grateful to be here and kind of share the initiative that I've thought through for a couple months.
So, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Would you mind just very quickly introducing yourself for the audience and just give a brief overview of your story, the founder story?
All right. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm grateful to share the initiative with our community. My name is Catherine Katambo, and I'm a Lynn mom and the founder of Voca Safe Watch. This project was simply inspired by my son, Roy, who's 14 years old, nonverbal with a diagnosis of autism. And it was pretty much for him and every child who deserves a voice anywhere they go. And that's why I'm really here to spread the word about the initiative of Voca Safe Watch.
And you mentioned it before, so it'd be something, it's a watch that would be wearable and definitely better for young children or kids who, it'd be much simpler for them to communicate that way. You were mentioning how instead of having to use a tablet or having to be in a certain space to communicate, now this is what they can use to share what they need.
Yes, I mean, this came from one time I realized my son could communicate perfectly at school and in a setting where he's at the table with a tablet. But when it came out to us, like running errands or being at the park or at the pool, there was a little limitation when it came to communication. So I felt like there was a little gap when it came to communication outside the setting of a table. So this pretty much came from that gap of not having something portable.
And this, like you were saying, it would be portable. You can wear it. It would be waterproof. You're saying you've begun to incorporate elements of AI into it as well, so it can learn based on what the kid or what the child typically wants or asks for in certain situations.
Yeah, so the watch itself is pretty much, you can get it from the name itself. It's VOCA safe. So VOCA is the vocabulary part of the communication, and the safe is a safety that most of the caregivers or even the users would really gain from having a portable watch. So the whole entire ecosystem is a waterproof watch, which is AI generated, and it supports a child to have a more natural conversation because it's gonna learn the individual's environment. Let's say you're in the kitchen, your child is always asking for water or juice. It's gonna learn that environment. And anytime it's in the kitchen, it's gonna pick up on that and populate it on the watch, so which makes it more natural when it comes to communication.
And you were saying, too, one thing that you've been really reaching out to the community, parents, what they want. Another big piece of it you said was multilingual, so having multiple languages within the watch.
Right. So I'm going to just maybe go back to our website. So we've really come up with 2 initiatives, which I'm hoping the parents in our community can surely go into it. We have one which is called Co-Design With Us, so that we're inviting more parents, caregivers, we're inviting therapists and educators to go in there and just tell us what they really want the watch to offer to the individuals. And what we got from a very recent parent who was concerned and they wanted to have their child also communicate in their language, in their native language. So we at least we're able to add on to that before the watches really comes into life. So we're planning on the pilot program, we're gonna have Spanish, English, and German. And just being that we have the co-design with us, that's for the parents. And then we also have another initiative called Share Your Voice. So this is gonna pretty much bring the caregiver's story on the table for us to understand exactly their challenges when it comes to communication outside the setting where the iPad is in front of the child. So if every parent can get a chance to just go to our website, it's going to be very helpful for us to build together. This is pretty much, we're not building the watch for us, it's building for our community and our kids. So we want to hear your voice in the 2 initiatives.
Like you said, people, they're sharing their real lived experience. So you can take that and incorporate it into the watch and say, based on your experience and others, what really are the key things that we want to make sure we put into this base design?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because I said about the VOCA, which is vocabulary, and the last very big piece, and we're getting to get it from the other parents, is the safety aspect of it. So the safety itself has a feature of a GPS and SOS alert. So where we're incorporating a feature called geofencing. So when the caregiver when they have the watch with the individual, they can fence, pretty much put a radius around where if a child goes past that radius, they get an alert on their phones, on the caregiver's phone, that the child has pretty much gone past the danger area. So in general, this is just pretty much to give parents and caregivers a peace of mind and give our kids a voice to speak anywhere they are.
Yeah, so that way if they've wandered too far or if they ever felt like they were in trouble or in a bad situation, they're able to alert the caregiver very quickly, very efficiently.
And this is one thing that it's become one of the things that comes up on news a lot, is our community, kids and adults who are on the spectrum or they always have a lot of eloping and wandering. So this brings in a big feature when it comes to safety. It's waterproof, the watch itself. So when it comes to an individual going past the area where we've put the radius, and they go, let's say for an example, they go to a neighbor's pool, in case, God forbid, that happens, then the child or the parent who's going to get an alert on their phones that is clearly the child has gone past the radius, and they will be easily tracked because the watch is waterproof and it's going to be still working for the GPS safety part of it.
They can get right there, help them, get them out of danger as quickly as humanly possible, right?
Yes.
And you said you've gotten quite a bit of feedback from parents, from caregivers, from everyone in the community.
Yes, so with these two initiatives, we've really gone out and had the ads going on, the meta ads on the social media. And out of that, we've just gotten a lot of feedback where parents are really focused and they're very interested with the watch because of the safety aspect of it. Yeah. And that's become the biggest drive with the whole initiative about Share the Voice and co-design with us, is that the caregivers and parents are really focused and really want to see this work for the safety aspect of it.
It is. The safety aspect, like you said, is a huge piece of it. It's, you know, it's going to be the base of when you design it. And you were even saying, you know, when you start the pilot program, you know, that'll be one of the features you have. And even as you go forward, right now it's for children and people with autism, but it could maybe even be adapted later for other medical conditions.
Correct. So we are hoping, and we're not going to promise anything for now, but our whole aspect is the watch itself is a med tech. So in the long run, we are hoping that with the whole GPS and SOS for safety, it's going to be able to be reimbursed through insurance, either private insurance or the Medicare insurance. And in the long run, we've built a platform that's going to be helpful to incorporate other features, like for epilepsy, before an individual gets into the sign itself. Yeah. It's going to be alerted to the caregiver so they can be prepared to keep them safe.
Which would be incredible. That would be just game-changing in the world of medicine. And I know one thing you mentioned here, too, is that you've lived in Lynn for many years. You were saying the diverse community is another thing that's really shaped this mission. All the different languages, experiences, cultures that are mixed into this one place.
Yes. So obviously with diversity comes in with a little struggle here and there when we talk about just reaching out to the most deserving individuals or families. So I feel like this is going to help a lot when it comes to spreading the word and having this watch into the hands of the community.
Oh yeah, definitely. Making sure everyone who may need it or know someone who would, that they can communicate that and get it. And I know I may have dropped them in a moment, but was there anything else that I hadn't emphasized that you wanted to make sure people knew about the watch, the website, anything else?
So I just wanted to maybe stress and emphasize this point that we're not trying to replace the iPad communication devices. This is more like an additional tool for our kids and individuals who don't have a form of communication. So it's going to be more like an alternative to the iPad, because my son uses the iPad, and I wouldn't want to take that away from him. That has been his voice since we knew that he cannot speak. So this is just an addition to the iPad. Not a replacement. Oh,
it's another tool that can work in tandem with it. Yep. You could have both. You could have one or the other. But no, like you said, they're meant to work together. Work harmoniously to help.
We're not taking away the iPad.
We said it's an absolutely incredible idea, and you even said you only started this in August of this year. I mean, you're going. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just the inspiration. My son, I mean, the struggles I see him going through every day, and it's really heartbreaking to see how much there's a big gap when it comes to communication, and communication should never stop at any point. If you want to communicate, we should all have a right to communicate anywhere, anytime.
Definitely, and it said that I think this would be a huge step for it as you continue going through, and I'm really eager to see as you go through the pilot stages, everything else where it comes to, and I have to thank you again so much for coming on to spread this message to the community.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, anytime. If you are interested, check out any of the links that came up on the bottom of this page. But for now, I'm Danny Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests. In commemoration of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, the Community Minority Cultural Center will hold their 39th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast on Monday, January 19th. This year, the event will be hosted at the Knights of Columbus, 177 Linfield Street, and will begin at 9 a.m. Councilor at Large and founder of North Shore Juneteenth Association, Nicole McLean, will be the keynote speaker. Tickets are $55 for adults, $20 for children, or a table of 10 people is $500. Then join the Lynn Family Forward Resource Center for their resume building workshops. Taking place on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the next one will take place on January 20th. The staff will assist you in building a resume that showcases your talents in any field. Whether you are just entering the workforce, looking to switch careers, or just want a refresher, this is the course for you. These workshops are open and free to all in the community. While the Food Project has moved inside Greater Lynn Senior Services for their winter farmers markets. The markets will run from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. as a way to stock up on fresh local produce and other items. They are SNAP and HIP eligible and open to everyone in the community. Markets are held on the second and fourth Saturdays of every month, from January through June, with the next one taking place on January 24th. That brings us to the end of the news for this week. Before we wrap up, I want to take this moment to thank my amazing colleagues, the LCTV board, all the nonprofits I have worked with, and the city itself for such a memorable 4 years. I would also like to extend my deepest gratitude to Mayor Nicholson and the City Council for all their support. It was an honor to receive citations earlier this week. Community media is vital, not just for reporting news, but highlighting all the amazing people doing amazing things in this city. So be sure to continue supporting Lynn Community Television by following them at Lynn Community TV and visiting lyntv.org. I know I will. So for the final time, I'm Danny Vittori, and this has been the LCTV News.
This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by Leo Inc., Daolis Brothers Construction, and King Movers and Storage.